Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and the Marauders, issue number 19. I know that this book doesn't get a whole lot of reviews and whatnot, and doesn't get a whole lot of views on the reviews that are out there, including mine, which is just odd because it's such a fantastic book, but I do the reviews for the books that I want to review, so there's that. Anyway, let's talk about who made this comic book. Probably move on from there. So Jerry Dugan does the writing and Stefano Caselli does the art, Edgar Delgado on colors, and VC's Corey Petit on letters and production. Design, Tom Mueller. Russell Dauterman and Matthew Wilson does the cover. There's a variant cover by David Finch and Frank Diarmata. Jonathan Hickman is the head of X. But for how long? At some point, it must end. But for now, he's still the head of X. So the beginning of this pretty much says everything. Only two types of people in Madripoor, the rich and those willing to kill you to become rich. Patch. Typical horrible conversation piece. Anyway, the Verende stuff is hysterical, man. I can't help but to love everything that I'm reading in these freaking books, dude. You have got this ridiculous freaking group of Verende who have hired the Reavers to go out and kill, I don't know, anybody and everything in their way and to raise everything in Lowtown because the mutants are sitting there screwing them over, right? So you got what the hell's the name of the Marauder, duh. You got the Marauder on the edge of international waters, I guess you'd say, right off of the port. You can't even be that far away because Kitty was able to swim to the sewers there. So it was definitely a lot closer than international waters, which is what, 12 miles, 8 or 12, I think 12 miles off of any shore. What do you call them? These two huge battleships on either side with their cannons pointed right down at them. And it's like, bruh, you do realize you don't stand a chance, right? And everybody leaves except for Pyro and Iceman. Iceman's like, yeah, man, we're going to go out there. We're going to, kick some butt and take some names, man. And, just as long as we're not going to call ourselves Ice and Fire because that would be bad. Fire and Ice would be bad? Really? So Fire and Ice would be a bad name. Those were the characters that were in DC Comics during the time that Superman was killed. But suddenly that's a bad name. They made figures for those characters, and that's a bad name. Tell me something. If that's such a bad name, how come it's the title of this comic book? Oh, they went there. No, a stupid name would be like Icy Hot. That would be a name where we would make fun of you. But any other name, nah, you're good. You're totally good with that. What have you now? Verende, everything about this group is just, it's pathetic. And I hate them, but I hate them in a way that I love to hate them, with their stupid little Verende, it's not like they're Big Van Vader in the WWE or wherever the hell, WCCW that he was at. Anyway, meanwhile, what is this one chick's name? Chen Zhao. She's basically this real old woman who has a lot of money. Who's got these kids running around and she's supporting them just because they hate mutants as much as she does. Like Cougar, anyone? I'm dying at all the little references that are in here. Here's this old, it's not even an old head. This is just an old body. It's not just the head that's old. The whole body is old. Talking about, yeah, I'm going to hang out with these guys. She's looking through a freaking telescope. Come on, man. You got a telescope? Like when you a pirate? The pirates are down there, practically in international waters, surrounded. And you up here like, ho, ho, ho. Cougar, maybe. This comic book is just freaking hysterical. But Dugan has such a good finger on the pulse of society because the only real white page in this is at the end where somehow it's like the most ridiculous thing in the world. Nobody is happy about being excluded from stuff. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's happy about that. Black people don't like it. White people don't like it. And white people haven't experienced it nearly as much as black people have throughout history. But this isn't history. This is today where we're all trying to fight for equality, and sometimes the call for it is a little bit off. It's like, so theoretically, some people's ancestors, maybe most people's ancestors, right, have excluded other people from a thing. So now today, you're going to teach these people who are all dead, mind you, a lesson by excluding the people today who are fighting tooth and nail for your rights. That makes perfect sense to me. So here's this really dumb cuck of a freaking whatever her name is at the end of this the white pages in here at the end of this book, the reporter for the Daily Bugle, and she's like, oh, and yeah, the greatest ball ever, though, the Hellfire Gala. It's going to be really awesome, and only mutants are involved. And I wasn't born with a mutant, so I get to stay home and watch it with you guys. You know, all my viewers in my sweatpants at home. Oh well, c'est la vie, because I wasn't born a mutant. Really? Really? Is that society nowadays? Where there's like this willful being oppressed? Is that like the people who enjoy? I just saw a thing recently where a girl likes being a dog. She likes being dominated by people, and she likes being a dog. I mean, if that's your fetish, okay, cool. But you know, we don't go out in public like that. That's just weird, man. That's really weird. Can't we keep it? No, there's no shame. Okay, be your best self, even if it's on a leash. It is what it is, man. I don't know what to tell you, bruh. I don't know what to tell you. This is a very weird society to me where things like this happen. But unfortunately, this is real. This really happens. And Dugan is just there like, dum, 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 dum. Really? Okay, I'll write it. Okay. But some of the stuff on here is actually really fantastic also. When you think about the housing crisis, right? Why is it that people can't buy a house anymore? Like, it's almost impossible at this point to buy a house and actually own the house. No, everything's a mortgage. And it's a mortgage through a bank. Like, banks are buying houses at this point. You know, they call them hedge funds. No, they're banks. They're banks, basically. And they're going out and they're buying. And that's the reason why we're in another bubble. And bubbles pop. Bubbles pop. Canada's worse than in America, but it's really bad in America too, where the banks are actually buying houses. Usually it's people buy houses and they sell the houses to other people. And they say, okay, well, give me a mortgage. And so I get paid from your bank and you have to keep on paying your bank in order to be able to pay off the house that I already got all the money for. And that's the way it's always worked before. Now it's the banks directly buying the houses so they could jack up these mortgage prices and whatnot. So your landlord now is essentially the bank. It's not just the person who's, sold you, and the bank is just there as the middleman. No, the bank is the only person. The middleman became the main person. It's the weirdest thing. And that's basically what Verende has been doing. And we see that, and here's almost a culmination of all of this. And it's baffling. It's mind-numbing to see the same thing. But that's what the comic books are all about. Marvel Comics especially. Here's these fictitious places somewhere, and you wouldn't ever want to go there because bad things happen there. But guess what? That's the stuff that's happening to you right now, where you currently live in the real Earth 1214. I think that's the regular Earth that we all live in outside of the comic book. Comic books are comic books. Bruh. Wow. What an absolutely fantastic way to get these points across. And now the Reavers is obviously extracurricular stuff that's being thrown in there to make it, more fantastical and whatnot. And that's where it actually starts to get fun. Because Callisto, she's got her own idea. She says, I'm going to go and get the Morlocks. Now, I didn't understand what was happening before. I thought the Morlocks were like exiled to this country club type location. Turns out that they were self-exiled because they're always of the opinion of, yeah, I don't really want to be around the rest of you guys. You guys never accepted me before. Why would you accept me now? F you, I'm out. Okay, I get it. So now they're kind of being forced, tricked, gaslit into going into battle. The thing at the end when they talk about that's what you get for trying to burn down the hospital, the exchange between that Reaver and Mask afterwards, I am so here for this comic book, man. Marauders really expresses what the X-Men have not always, but almost always stood for, especially under Claremont's tutelage, right? It's that comic book mentality of here's the real world, but we're going to add a lot of fantasy to it so that you can tell what it's supposed to represent, but, well, you know. And sometimes mistakes have been made, but far too often, it just comes out so right. I love this book. I love all of these books. Guys, grab a hold of these. It's only issue 19 for crying out loud. You can catch up. I'm pretty sure they're trades. Anyway, guys, I'll talk to all you later. Like the video, watch an ad on your way out. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.